Hello, welcome to Satisfactory. My name is Alexander 2K, and this video is about setting up biomass burners to provide power for machines in the early stages of the game. In particular, what we're trying to do is say that we'll have power where we need it, with as few machines as possible, and with as little travel time by the pioneer as possible. So, this thing here is a biomass burner, and it's full of solid biofuel. That's what it's chewing up in order to make power. And its capacity is 30 megawatts. This particular system, if I climb up to the top of this constructor, there's 10 on this side and 10 on this side. So 10 times 30, if my multiplication tables have not failed me, is 300 megawatts of power. But it doesn't have to be 10, it can be 5. You can put 2 on each side. You know. So biomass burners can burn a lot of stuff in the game, but primarily you're going to want them to burn solid biofuel, which is what you see there on the way into them, because the solid biofuel is the most efficient fuel. So the source of solid biofuel is going to be leaves and wood, and by converting it to solid biofuel first, you make the amount of energy you can get out of that leaves and wood. Ultimately, you'll be generating more power. So that's why you see the solid biofuel here. Uh, and then biomass burners are groovy because you can set up belts, as you see here, to feed them. You don't have to. I don't have to feed each one of these by hands. The belts do it. So what you need to do then is set up something that converts leaves and woods into solid biofuel that you see here, and that's what's behind me. What's behind me, I'm on a constructor. There's a second constructor. That's a storage bucket, and this is a storage bucket. Sorry, I think they're called storage containers. I always call them buckets. So, you can kind of see that here, I guess. See if I can get up on here. Oh. Yeah, so you put the leaves in this storage container. It goes into this constructor, it's called, and it churns those leaves into what they call biomass, and you can barely see the biomass coming out here. It goes into this container and then comes out here. It goes into this constructor, which turns the biomass into the solid wood fuel. And then the splitters, their job is to make sure that the wood is distributed, sorry, not the wood, the solid biofuel is distributed evenly. So it's almost done, but what it's been doing, you can see this constructor isn't taking anymore, or this biomass burner is not going to take anymore because it's already full. 200 is all they can hold. And then these two are full. But these last two are the last ones to fill. This one needs 111 more, and that one probably needs 111 more. But when they fill up, what's going to happen is each one will take, each biomass burner will take something from this conveyor belt system as needed. So in the beginning, it takes a while to fill up all the biomass burners. You have to be, well, you don't have to be patient. You can just wander off. Just leave it sending out the solid biofuel, and these splitters will take care of everything. But more on splitters in a minute. So I'm trying to follow a script here, and I'm constantly using my plays because I like to yak. But where we left off was the biofuel burners are being set up to use the solid fuel. The solid fuel is the most efficient. It comes from leaves and wood. You can burn other things besides leaves and wood and biofuel and solid fuel in biomass burners, but you kind of don't want to because those other things are harder to get, and they have other uses. So it's not that cool. In order to get all this set up, having splitters, having the ability to make solid biofuel, in order to have constructors that aren't connected to the hub and so on, you need to do all of the first 7 milestones, which are hub upgrades 0 through 6. So 7 milestones, including the 0 through 6. And then after the 7 hub upgrade milestones, you go to phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And of those phases, you need to learn the milestone called logistics, because that contains the conveyor splitters, one of which I'm standing on. And you also, and that is actually, to be specific, that's in phase 1, and it is tier 1, and it's the second milestone in tier 1. And then the last thing you'll need is solid biofuel, which you're seeing going by us now. And that's in the obstacle milestone, which is phase 1, tier 2. The other one was tier 1, milestone 2. So this guide, this setup, assumes you have all of those milestones completed. So, get to work. Okay. So obviously having portable biomass burners is important. The biomass burners that come embedded into the hub that you can't remove, they can't be fed with a belt, and they produce 20 megawatts of power instead of 30. So I mean, they're useful on the way because that's all you have, but ultimately you want these independent biomass burners you can put anywhere. So, all right, let's talk about where this thing goes down. So what I've done is lay a foundation, which again, you'll be able to make a foundation if you've completed all the milestones I just indicated. And I laid it off this cliff and above the things I'm trying to power here. So the reason for that is we have a lot of conveyor belt logistics here. So this conveyor belt, the way this works is the fuel is generated here, it goes into this conveyor belt, the splitter goes off, one to the right, one to the left, and then one on. And so those need to be lined up. Now, if you set them far apart, if they're not lined up exactly, then it's less of a thing. But if you want it to be compact and neat and not taking up as much space as it could, then you want them closer together. And if you want them closer together, it's very helpful to have these grid lines here. So the foundation, this is where the foundation connects to one another. You can see there's a grid line, it tells you where the middle is, and so on. And you'll notice, and it's not a coincidence, that I have set these splitters right on top of where these grid lines meet. Right here, bam, there's a splitter. Bam, there's a splitter. The splitter is right on where those four things meet. And you'll notice also that I lined up the intakes on the biomass burners right here, right off the splitter. So what you want to do is put the splitters down first, and the biomass burners down first, and all this other jazz down first, and then connect with the conveyor belts. And the reason for that is, if you put down the conveyor belts first, and then you put stuff on top of it, you can do it, but it gets weird quickly. It's easy to make a mistake. It gets weird. It just gets weird, and it's hard to do. The other thing about setting up on a foundation is that it's very flat. You don't have to worry about elevation issues. Oh look, I didn't line up very well because these two are farther back than those three, aren't they? Well, see, there you go. So, being flat makes it easier. You don't have to worry about elevation changes, again, which makes the conveyors easier to set up. The other thing about being on a foundation is it makes it easy to extend this. So I could put another line down here, run another conveyor belt down here with the splitters, and it'd work fine. Or I could do two more. I could do two more lines and run a conveyor line down the middle like it is here. It's easy to make it grow. When you're down below on the ground, if you try and expand, you're going to run into a tree or a rock or a mountain or something. It's just harder. The other thing about doing it on a foundation is that, and the last thing, is that you're up high. You can do it so you can make the foundation up high. This stuff, physics are weird in this game. It's not being supported by anything. It's not connected to this mountain, so you don't really have to worry, You can just set it up. As long as you can get one up there, you can build the rest off it, and you don't have to worry about it. And when you're down below, if you're trying to, like if I had a power line right here and I was trying to connect it from here to the, I don't know, see it's way over there way over here is that miner, right? And if I have a power line here, and it's hard to see. Whereas when you're up top, it's a lot easier to see from the top down than when you're on the same level as the things that you're trying to power. So in the case of that miner, I was just trying to see, I mean, damn bro, it's right here. Bro. It's right here, bro. So, yeah. So building it on a foundation is not the worst idea ever. And I would recommend it to you. For all those excellent reasons, and because I'm good looking, that's why you should do it. Okay, so we laid the foundation and we've set up our splitters to distribute the fuel. Let's make the fuel. So what we need here is to, when you're running around exploring, you'll see some bushes. Press E and you pick it up. If you hold E after you've pressed it, every time you put the cursor over a bush, it picks it up like so. Super easy. Or you can just press E every time. What do I care? I don't care how you pick stuff up. Pick up stuff however you want. You know, I'm not the boss of you. Do what you need to do, you know? Be free. Hey, there's some deuterium. Alright, so what we've done here is we picked up some leaves, that's here, and we picked up some wood. And I'm going to show you, after I break my ankles, if I come over here to this portable crafting bench I put in here, watch me make some solid fuel. Here's some here, so we're going to add to this one, I guess, from leaves. So here's biomass leaves, and I'm going to make it, and you see it taking it off here. Okay? Now just imagine that you have 2,000 leaves. So, and it made 60. So I'm going to put this on the ground. Here's 27 wood, and I'm going to make biomass from wood. Look how much faster that is. Look how quickly that comes out. And I've made more. That was 60, and I made 120 in less time. And I had more wood than I actually had leaves there. My point is, where I'm trying to go with this, what I want you to hear, is that generating biomass, which is then used to make this solid fuel, that's what this one does, is it converts biomass into solid fuel. Generating biomass from leaves takes, I figured it out exactly. So if you take leaves and then you want to turn it into biomass, it takes forever. It is a very long time to do it. Whereas when you're converting wood to biomass, it goes very quickly. That really wasn't an excellent demonstration because I didn't have a lot to show you, but the more you have, the more it becomes clear that converting biomass, leaves to biomass is a huge undertaking, and you'll be forever at the crafting bench, whereas wood pops off very quickly. So you take your leaves, and you come up here, and you throw them in there, and so instead of doing it on the, and then it just trickles out here, and it goes into this machine, this designed desert leaves into biomass. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So what you want to do then is create biomass for the machine to turn to solid fuel. And as far as leaves are concerned, you want to have a constructor do it because it takes forever, and if you have the constructor do it, you can just walk away and have the constructor do it. And you can just load it into a storage container, belt it to the constructor, and super easy. Bob's your uncle, as they say in England. It's super easy. So I don't know why it's easy to have Bob for your uncle, but that's what they say. I'm not a British idiom explainer. Read a book. So gather up the leaves, throw them in here. It comes out the chute, comes into this one, and it is converted into biomass. God willing. There it goes. The biomass comes out here. goes into the storage container. Storage container feeds into the machine that turns biomass into solid fuel. Then it comes out here, and through the miracle of these splitters, it is distributed evenly to all the biomass burners, and there you go. And for the wood, you just do the wood yourself. Now, if you want to automate the wood process, that is certainly possible. What you would need is you can get rid of this one, and you can just take the output from the leaf biomass converter and the output from the, now you have a third converter here. You'd have, this is for leaves, you'd have another one for wood here, and then this is the one that burns the biomass that's made from the wood and the leaves into solid fuel. So you'd have another one here, and then you'd have to merge that line together into this line. So for me, that's a bit much, considering how long it takes to turn wood into biomass, which is not very long. So what you would normally do then is you go out, you come back to your base, put your stuff away, and then take your crunch your wood into biomass, come up here, throw the leaves in here, and then you throw the biomass you made from the wood into this container, and then the leaves come here into this container also, and it also gets turned into, all this gets turned into biofuel. If you had a third constructor and it was creating biomass from wood, then what you'd do is you'd come back from your exploring, you'd put all your stuff away, then you'd come up here and put the wood in one, and then you'd put the leaves in the other. My point that I am laboriously getting to is that whether you turn the wood into biomass at the bench, or whether you come up here and throw the wood into the container, you're still coming up here to put things into two separate containers. You're putting leaves in here, and you're putting wood into the container here. Then it goes to the converters, which converts both of those and comes in here. But if you do it the other way and you go down and you turn the wood in ahead of time, so you've got leaves and biomass, then you're going to come up here and put leaves in one and biomass in the other. Either way, you're coming up here and you're putting wood into you're putting things into two separate containers. So what's the difference? The travel time, you're not saving any steps, I guess is what I'm saying. You're not losing any travel time either way. Putting the second constructor up here doesn't mean you have less trips to make. Having a second constructor up here also means that you're using more power to make the power, because these things are powered also. They take 4 megawatts, I think. Yeah, 4 megawatts. So instead of having 8 megawatts to power this thing, you're going to have 12 megawatts, because 3 times 4 is 12, I believe. Now that 4 megawatts of power could be used to power this constructor down here that's making rods. So you're saving the time on the crafting bench, but you're spending more power. In my view, it just makes more sense because it's so easy to convert the wood, unlike the leaves, to just do it at the crafting bench. All right, well, I think we're near the end. I think I want to point out that the way this conveyor, just a word about the splitters. So if I call up the splitter here, it's a little bit hard to tell. I guess this way, the way splitters work is they have one line in and they have 3 lines out. And this is illustrated by the orange line that's going in and the 3 green lines that are going out. Now I'm going to rotate this counterclockwise. Now the orange line is coming in from the right. Now the orange line is coming in from the back. Now the orange line is coming on the left. And now the orange line is coming in this way. So if I come over here, you can see, let's see, there we go. So because this splitter setup works, obviously it has to be so that this line here, this is the end. And it's actually, there's a visual clue because it's silver all around, except for this one side that is orange. So the silver all around is the outputs. So when this stuff comes in here, it's going to come in from this direction, has to come in from this direction. We should just put arrows right here actually, but that's okay. This should be an arrow pointing in, and this should be an arrow pointing out, pointing out, pointing out. But that's all right. So when it comes in here, it'll come in and then do one to the right first, I believe, then one to the left, and then one out. So again, and then the one out, the ones that come out, it does the same thing. It comes in here, right, left, and out. So as a result, these two, I guess this one, since the right one went out first, this one would fill up to the 200 that it can hold first. This one's second, then this one's third, and so on. These being the ones on the end, being the last ones to fill up. Now, of course, they all fill up eventually. Once they do fill up, everybody gets one as it's needed. It's a little bit counterintuitive to imagine that they fill up first to last, but once they're all full, then they just take one when they need it. But that is what happens. So each one of these biomass burners, you can see it's all backed up here. If this one needed one, it would just take that one. And then it would just be replaced, because the pace coming in is much greater than the time it takes to consume them. So as a result, every one of these biomass burners has 200 fuel in it, which is the maximum it can hold. And so even if I erase this, let's say I run out of fuel for this line, and there's no more fuel being made by this converter, and there's no more fuel being fed to the conveyor belts, I would still have the time it takes to burn through 200 solid fuel in order to, before power actually ran out. It would all run out around the same time, because they'd all be burning at the same time. But my point is that there is a certain amount of lag built into this thing, where even if you're a little late getting back here to feed it more fuel, you're still going to be okay. So that's pretty much all the features and how it's made. After this, what happens is you get to the next power generator is a coal-powered generator. And generally speaking, with coal-powered generators, rather than have, you know, a bunch of different places, like this place is over here, because I needed more space, there wasn't enough resources around my base. I needed more iron in order to make more stuff, because the game and stuff, you need just endless amounts of stuff. So I had used up all the stuff that was near my base, and my base is way the hell over here. So the question is, how do I power all those constructors and miners and so on that's over there? Well, when you have a pick up some of this. When you have we use this portable system in the beginning of the game, then you are able to process things near where the resources are. I don't have to like double this up and you know, create more power here and then use lines all the way out there, which I might want to do. That's one way to go. I can just have it out there because the fuel is out, you know, the leaves and stuff are everywhere. So here's my other power. I made this one a little bit differently because I thought I was just going to need the 5 here, but then I needed 5 more and I added it and it was a little bit weird, but it's basically the same idea. Should have just added them right here, actually, now that I think about it. It would have been on this side and then would have come right out there. But, you know, nobody ever said that I'm consistent or smart or, well, somebody did say I was good looking because I am. The coal power generators, though, you can find it. There's a spot over there. I won't show you, but there's a spot over there where there's a huge lake and there's 4 coal nodes. And so much more, it makes sense to just put a whole bunch of coal power generators together there and just keep adding to them, and then use power lines to just take it wherever you want. Whereas here in the early game, maybe it does make more sense to just make portable these little power generating stations and move them to where you need them. These are the built-in hubs, by the way. You can see here 20 megawatts of power instead of 30. And there's no way to pipe the stuff in. You have to feed them all the time. I mean, they're good in the beginning, but after a while, this is better. Alright, well, there's my little tutorial on how to make biomass burning power plants in the beginning of the game. I hope that it helped. And if it didn't help, well, that's okay. I hope you were at least entertained. And if you weren't entertained, well, God bless you. Alright, we'll see you later. Take care.